Now back to Inside Real Estate. Here's Mike the Realtor.
Hey, folks, we're back. Welcome to the Inside website, InsideRealEstateRadio.com, InsideRealEstateRadio.com. And, of course, you can connect with all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, all that good stuff from there. You can also connect with all of our partners right there as well. Hit the archive page for all kinds of good stuff as well. And so we're going to do a little insurance talk with our resident expert in insurance, Richard Tonihka. Website, richardtagency.com, richardtagency.com. And, of course, his phone number direct, 817-286-2002. What do you say, Richard?
Howdy ho, neighbor. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me again. I always enjoy being here.
Well, it's good to see you again, and I always love our back and forths in the fun stuff that we talk about, which kind of breaks up the monotony of just talking about real estate and just talking about mortgage and insurance, for an entire hour, which is a lot of good information that we provide to people. But it's fun to talk about other stuff too.
Yes, it is, and like I say all the time, I mean, nobody thinks about insurance the way I do. Or at least I hope the average person out there is thinking about insurance the way I do.
That's right. They have a mental breakdown.
And so when you start thinking about it like that, it's just it's funny to me that kind of what we were talking about earlier, that if you yourself you had a client that came out and was looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, and you said, "Well, I've got two for you. I've got one for $150,000 and I have one for $100,000." Not all of them are going to come in and say, "I want the one for $100,000." Are they? Have you ever put up two options and then had someone come in and say, "I want the cheaper one"? No, they're going to want to look at the house.
Yeah.
They want to know what they're buying. But all too often, people come in and judge insurance by how much are they paying.
Right.
You're not paying money to get the lowest rate on your insurance. Like you said, I mean, you're paying for your insurance to be covered, that if something happens, you're covered.
Right.
It's taking you a lifetime to build up the assets that you have to purchase. And your biggest investment, probably being your house,
right,
is making sure that all this stuff is covered. It's taking you a lifetime to gather all this stuff, but now you're going to have to replace it in a total loss within a matter of months or a year.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the right coverage, your ability to do that is diminished dramatically. And you don't really find out how good your agent is or how good your policy is until you have a claim.
Right.
And I've met with a few people this week that we were talking about our policies or their policies, and they came out and they're like, "Well, I'm getting a better rate with so-and-so." And I was like, "Well, I can almost promise you've got this kind of policy and you don't have replacement costs." And I'll always harp on replacement costs. So no matter what you do, I mean, your deductibles can be whatever they want to be. And we can get into a conversation about that at a later time, but you can play with a lot of things with insurance.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I never play with is replacement costs. Have to have replacement costs because it does you no good to do depreciated value, or what you'll see on your insurance is actual cash value. Actual cash value on an insurance policy is a bad thing.
Yes, it is.
It's a very bad thing for everybody. If you see that, you're always going to see it on your auto insurance.
Right.
Unless you have the new car replacement, and most carriers will only let that be on your policy for
about a year,
18 months
so, yeah,
to 2 years is the absolute longest stretch I've ever seen that
right,
that endorsement be on your policy. But if you ever see actual cash value on your home policy, it's a bad thing. Your agent isn't doing what they should be for you. And granted, this is me talking to you as the way I want it. Now, and like I tell everybody, it's the way you want your policy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's your policy.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a risk that you're willing to take, that's fantastic. I mean, I'll write that policy. I will tell you I'll tell you the pros and cons of having an actual cash value. But it should never be placed on you without your knowledge.
Right. Well, and that's what happens is people, like we talk about, people will they'll call a couple agencies. Let's say I'll call agency 1, that's Allstate. Agency 2, that's going to be Farmers, and maybe if they do 3, which is going to be rare, they do State Farm, one of the other big boxes. They'll compare, and that agent knows they're being shot by price. They're going to throw out the worst policy possible,
Absolutely.
which gets the best price. Worst policy, best price. And they know if they can beat the other ones, they got you. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of policy they give you because they just want the business and they want that check coming in every month. Whereas you're going to say, hey, we're going to get you a good price, but would you like to be covered when something happens or not? Because we want you to be covered. We're not going to just throw out a lowball price and give you the worst policy possible because we care about you, and that if something happens to your house, like you say, it's their biggest asset. And it's amazing to me, people don't put as much thought into, honestly, buying and selling real estate. But when they do buy real estate, don't put as much thought into protecting it.
Exactly.
Which is just ridiculous.
And that's not saying that I'm going to be the highest price, because 8 out of 10 times I'm going to save you money and give you a better policy.
Right.
And I know that sounds contradictory to a lot of people, but
it's because of your it's because of the model that you
Exactly.
have, and it's important for people to understand the difference in that model versus just going to Allstate, just going to Farmers, etc.
And with those, I mean, you've got their policy or you've got their stripped down policy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got over 25 different policies or 25 different carriers.
Carriers.
That's not even talking about the number of policies within each carrier.
Exactly.
And so once you start getting into that and start looking at, we can have this policy, and let's say company A is offering you a great rate and a great policy this year, better than everyone else. Fantastic. We stay with company A this year. Next year, if it's company B, we move you to company B. And that's part of the thing that I love about what I do the most, is the fact that I take care of my customers. My whole job is to make sure that my customers are taken care of, and that in the time of some claim or anything, they've got the coverage that they needed and they've had it at the price that they needed. And you can only really do that for a customer by being able to shop you around, because your loyalty needs to be to your customers, not your company.
Right.
And so as an independent agent or a goosehead agent, going in and being able to put my customers first, is that to say that they may not pay a little bit more? Absolutely. But we never know that until we go in and have those conversations. Because like I say, we come in and we specialize and personalize all of our solutions for your individual lifestyle and risk. If you want an actual cash value policy, just because it's not right for me and my family doesn't mean that it's not something that isn't right for you and your family.
Right.
That may be a risk that you're willing to take.
Mm-hmm. And the nice thing too is that, look, when you go to, just big box agency, they can only do everything with you. Now, of course, they're going to try to steal your auto and all your toys to go with it. But with your model, you can say, okay, well, you know what? The best home policy for you is with Safeco. But you know what? Maybe the best auto policy is with whoever else, ASI, or maybe the ASI is the home and Safeco is the auto. But you can bundle those.
Yes.
And whereas, you go with just regular big box over here, you got to put everything under that roof. And with you don't have to do that. You can get the best policies, which may be at different companies, still give them a bundle discount.
Exactly.
And, you'll get better rates 9 times out of 10, but you'll always get better policies.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I tell my customers is, really, I'm here to give you a better policy at a better price.
Yeah. I
can only do that by shopping you around to all the different companies. At the end of the day, I'm not going to come out and give you 25 different proposals. You're not going to want to read it, and I'm not going to want to send them to you. I'll give you the top 2 or 3, right, and then we take it from there. But I mean, yeah, it is not always with the same companies. It's a lot of times it's mixed matched. So if you're thinking that you have to have the same company for your home and auto, you don't.
You don't.
No. And there's a lot of times that it's more beneficial for someone to have a different home carrier and a different auto carrier. we never know until we get in and we start talking and start looking at numbers.
Yeah, and folks, you'd be so surprised. You probably haven't thought about insurance, your homeowner's insurance, in a while. You just keep paying the bill. You kind of just get stuck with whatever you got, when you bought the house. And you haven't really thought about it much since. But you don't want to be stuck in a position where something does happen and, you foolishly didn't pay attention to it and you're not covered. Now, how would you like to explain that to your spouse or your family that you're not going to be able to be put up into a hotel without paying for it yourself, because of the damage to your home, from whatever happened, and you've got to be put out of the house? You're not going to know until something happens. So in advance of that, because something may happen, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, you want to make sure that you're covered. For example, you might have that policy that is, limited risk. It's not all peril. And you want your policy, trust me, to be all peril, which means, anything that can happen just about darn near.
Yes.
Except for an earthquake. You need earthquake coverage for that. You do need a separate coverage for that. And by the way, we did have a pretty strong earthquake, 5.6, up there in Pawnee near Tulsa. Felt from the Dakotas all the way down to Houston. So hopefully we don't continue to. I
had family members that felt it over in Greenville and the Leonard area.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people said they thought that they felt it here in Dallas, and it was early that morning after a late Friday night. So a lot of people may be thinking of just from the hangover or who knows what. But there was actually, we did feel it here in Dallas, evidently. So, but. Folks, look, take some time, look at your policies, get with Richard, and he'll go over it with you. He'll make sure you get the best homeowner's policy, and then he'll go through all your auto, toys, and everything else with you as well. Able to shop 25 companies for you behind the scenes, get you the best rates, the best policies. It's a no-brainer. If you're not thinking about it, you should. 286-2002. 286-2002, 817 area code. RichardTAgency.com is the website, RichardTAgency.com. Make sure you let him know you heard him on the radio and that you appreciate him on the radio and all of his good information, and give him a call and he'll take care of you. Folks, we're going to take a short break, then we're going to come on back